Yo, what is up, guys? It is your boy Raptor Crypt Keeper here. So, we're gonna read a little bit of the description for these traps and rank them. There's 8 traps in this whole movie. So, starting off, with the eye vacuum trap, it's about a hospital cleaner with sticky fingers. The rules are simple. All he has to do is turn a dial 5 times in order to avoid his eyes being sucked out of his head. The catch, his hand is attached to an intricate device, and with each turn of the dial, his fingers are snapped backwards. Unfortunately for him, the pain is just too much to bear, and his eyeballs get ripped out in graphic fashion. However, as one of the earliest twists in the movie, Sawx reveals that this whole scene is simply in Kramer's head. As soon as it's over, we see the hospital cleaner deciding to do the right thing and put the patient's belongings back into the drawer. As he walks out of the room, Kramer there to let him know he made a good choice. So this was all in Kramer's head. This trap didn't even happen, but this was him envisioning the trap in his own mind. So I would have to honestly to rate this. I would say that this is one of the best traps in the whole series. I'd put this at a top 7 for the whole franchise. Um, this is a beautiful trap. You can see the little dial that he has down here that he has to turn to break his fingers. And instead of him just going from 1 to 5 and just breaking all of them, he just goes one by one, and he just can't bear with it. But everything with this scene is like perfect, even like to the point where his eyeballs get ripped out. It's like literally sucked into this machine that's looking back at him so he can see himself. Um, I would have to rank this one at number 3 for this whole movie. It's a very good trap. Um, it's definitely some high tech things that are going on with it. It reminds me kind of the rack trap, which is why I really love it. Which the rack trap is in my top 3 also. It's just such a great trap. But yeah, I'm gonna do that one at number 3 out of the 8. Alright, so we're gonna have the pipe bomb trap. So first in the firing line is Diego, the taxi driver who's in with the scam that fools Kramer into parting ways with $250,000 in exchange for a miracle cure for his cancer. When Kramer catches on to the fact that he's been duped, he sets up a series of sinister games for the fraudsters to teach him a lesson. Diego's pipe bomb trap sees him wait. Diego's pipe bomb trap sees him wake up to find he's tied up with scalpels duct taped to his hands. When he uses them to cut the rope around his chest, he sets off a 3-minute timer, and so the games begin. In those 3 minutes, he gets to use the scalpels to cut 2 pipe bombs that have been surgically implanted into his forearms. After a tense and gory struggle, Diego manages to detach the second pipe bomb using his teeth to rip it out, kicking it to the side just before they both explode. And his messed up way, Kramer shows his empathy as he sees Diego survive, bringing him a medical kit, reassuring him he's going to be okay. So this trap it's a very cool trap. Um, it's just not something that I'm really into with how it's set up because it would be like an explosion trap to explode them. Um, I'd have to rank this one probably at number 7. It's a very cool trap, and with the way everything goes with the scalpel, how he's got to cut the little things out, um, and then he uses his teeth to pull them out. But the trap itself is not really that crazy, so I'm gonna rank this one at number 7. All right, now going down to the bone marrow trap. We will actually go over this one here in a second. We're gonna scroll down. I'm gonna start. Actually, we'll just go back and so this bone marrow trap. We'll just do the bone marrow trap. Next up is Valentina, the supposed nurse who's actually a sex worker, and he was set for a big payday for her involvement in scamming Kramer. But this isn't cut short when she is made to play a game. Valentina's bone marrow trap is the first to unfold in front of the players, including Dr. Cecilia Peterson, Gabriel, and Matteo. It also might be the one that generates that the most visceral reaction as she is left with 2 grisly choices. The first option is grip. She got to cut off her entire leg from the upper thigh using a Jiggly saw wire shove a bone marrow suction device in the open wound and suck out enough marrow to activate the release of a key to free herself. But the second option is death. You see she's trapped into a frame with another saw wire in the direction of her neck. If she fails to extract enough bone marrow in the 3 minutes she's given, the frame pulls back and decapitates her. Watching her painstakingly put the jiggle saw back. I can't even say that word. I'm sure there's a way to say it. Probably like jiggle saw or giggle saw or I don't even know. Back and forth as she tears her flesh is vomit-inducing stuff, and the same goes for when she starts sucking marrow out of her bones, despite managing to slice her entire leg off. Valentina runs out of the time as the last second is decapitated, becoming the casualty of Saw X. So this trap was awesome. This trap was just so good. It was really like gut wrenching when you're watching it, thinking of if you were in that state of mind, like what would you do? Like seeing her cut her whole leg off, she gets her whole leg cut off, then she has to stick a suction device into her leg and literally suck out bone marrow. And this one kind of reminds me of the pound of flesh that the black lady was doing, where she had to cut off a pound of flesh against that one white dude, the bigger dude, and whoever cut it off enough, I think she cut her arm off and threw it in the thing. And so this one is my number one. So that's why I didn't really want to go over, but this one is my number one. This one is so cool. It's like as soon as she gets to the point of getting her leg cut off and the bone marrow, then she's like left with like I'm not even talking about like minuscule drops of bone marrow and just gets her head cut off. So she's like legless and her head gets cut off and she just falls down in front of them. Which, to be honest, has one of the coolest scenes in the whole movie, which kind of pays homage back to Saw 1. So when this girl gets cut off and they're trying to get this rope to get this cart, they cut her open and the doctor takes her intestines out and uses it as a rope to get it, which kind of reminds me of Saw 1 when they took the Dr. Gordon's shirt and wrapped it up and threw it over there and grabbed the tape recorder, which I think that's what that was kind of paying homage to, which this trap really love it. So number one for the bone marrow. Brain surgery trap. Being one of the central figures in the scam against Kramer, Mateo doesn't get off lightly when it comes to the game as it's shown in the trailer. He's wheeled out to the other players in a device that has two components to the side of his head, series of wires on the top like a crown. Billy the puppet that makes his grand entrance by wheeling in a series of surgical tools and one of them famous saw tape players, which explains that Mateo must drill into his own skull and cut out a piece of gray matter, aka a piece of his brain. When he's done this, he placed a sample into a vat of acid, creating a reaction that will generate enough weight to release a key and allow Mateo to free himself. While Mateo pretended to be an anesthesiologist during the scam, he's actually a drug dealer. Kramer tells him that he won't be allowed to use any anesthetics for his own personal brain surgery. Trust me, you want to remain alert, he says. Just like Valentina's trap, audiences are subjected to a grueling scene as Mateo manages to drill through his own skull and dissect his own brain. And just like Valentina, he just about misses the 3 minute limit. That this causes the two pieces of the contraption to close shut, forming a neck in the shape of forming a mask in the shape of a Mexican statue. Kramer sees early on in the film, but with burning hot filaments on the inside. His head essentially sinks, and Mateo screams in agony before dying, making him the second victim. This one was really cool because this pays homage back to Saw 3, if you think about it, because when Kramer has to get, his head cut open and do brain surgery on and gets the lady from the hospital, the nurse or the doctor or whatever, and this one was grueling watching him cut open his own brain and have to take his brain matter out and fucking throw it in. It was gross. It was nasty. This one is definitely number two. Um, just the way he set it up because of where it was at Mexico, he pretty much based his surroundings on what his traps were, which is what the traps in this movie are very well thought. Whoever did this was awesome. Whoever set up all these traps and stuff, very intricate, very well designed. Everything is beautiful. So that's gonna be my number two. Alright, radiation therapy. In the trap, Gabriella comes face to face with the reality facing so many cancer patients. Radiation therapy. The key difference here is if she's chained up by her arm and foot, suspending her in the air, the radiation machine is directed at her face and turned up to 11. The machine starts at a normal level, with Gabriel being told that she must use a tool in front of her to break her foot in order to free herself from the chains, or she'll be subjected to a lethal dose of radiation. At first, she refuses to play along, at which point the machine turns up, causing burns to her face. Eventually, she starts bashing away at her foot, managing to get out the shackles and swing away from the radiation beams. Although she takes a moment to catch her breath, the machine maneuvers so it's once again in her direction, meaning she has little time to break her hand. After a brutal few moments, she finally gets out and falls to the ground, surviving Jigsaw's game in a cruel twist of fate. However, Dr. Cecilia Peterson later manages to overpower Kramer and his accomplice. Amanda Young ends up murdering Gabriel to make a point. Don't worry, she gets her comeuppance. So this trap was alright. I'm gonna rate it a 6. It was nothing insane. A 6 or a 7. I'm not even sure which one. I have one for maybe this one might be an 8, to be honest. This one's probably an 8. Um After I finish these, I'll just go through and put my numbers on all of them. Alright, so the waterboarding trap. So this one is really cool because Kramer is actually, in it. Cecilia forces Kramer to play the final game, and she makes a young local boy who Kramer befriended earlier on to take part. Strapping the chains around their necks, the pair are tied to the floor of platform with little wiggle room other than that to react for leather that's beside them. Once that Kramer tells the boy not to pull, the platform races up before two pistons come down and blood starts spurting out of them, effectively waterboarding them with the red stuff. The reason Kramer tells the boy not to pull levers because the other person's platform to lift up, moving them away from the river of blood. In other words, Kramer doesn't want the boy to suffer and is willing to sacrifice himself. He pulls it instead, allowing the kid to breathe. However, he realizes what's happening, decides to do the same for Kramer, with the two embarking on a back and forth bid to save each other. And this is going on. Cecilia and Parker go looking for the money they earned for their fraudster scheme, believing it's upstairs in the room where Kramer's been keeping a watchful eye on the game. However, this activates start of the real game and puts an end to the bloodboarding trap, allowing Amanda to set Kramer and the boy free. This was like a very cool trap because it's going back to like old ancient days. I think maybe medieval times. I'm not for sure, when they would waterboard people to get like, or maybe Navy SEAL tactics and stuff like that, where they would put a rag or shirt on your face and just dump water on you, and it makes you go insane. You can't breathe, and it'll like you suffocate. So this one was a pretty cool one. I'm gonna go back, like I said, I'm just gonna go through and rank them because it's gonna be hard through, go through and rank them like this. I'm already everywhere with everything, so excuse me. So the burning gas chamber trap. Last but definitely not least of the burning gas chamber trap, which activates when Cecilia pulls the piggy costume off at a cabinet, believing it's where the money is. She and Parker are instantly locked in, the burning gas starts filling the room. However, Kramer was one of the step ahead of the pair. It turns out Diego had previously told him that Parker was in on the scam and Cecilia were an item. Additionally, earlier on in the movie, Cecilia manages to get a hold of the phone and she makes a call, only to get cut off instantly by Amanda. We find out that Amanda saw Parker's name in the call history, so knowing the pair would end up looking for the money, Kramer set it up so that they think they caught him in a trap, only to pull the rug from under them at the last moment. As the couple starts to panic, they found out there's a hole in the wall they can put their head through to breathe in clean air, but there's only room for one person. Kramer tells him only one of them can survive, and they fight to the death, with Cecilia eventually managing to overpower Parker, stabbing him with a blade before poking her head out of the wall. Saw X finishes with Kramer, Amanda, and the boy walking out, making eye contact with Cecilia as they do. Although it doesn't show her dying, it's in play that she'll be stuck there for good as she's locked in the room. But this being a Saw film, you never know, she might make a return in the future. This trap was a pretty cool trap where, they got to stick their heads through to breathe. Kind of reminds me of when they had to cut themselves and like Jigsaw to free the blade off of themselves in a way. Um, it's a decent trap, not a bad trap. Yes, and this trap arrives until the post-credit scene. In the movie's biggest surprise, we see Henry Kessler, the character Kramer meets at the start of Saw X at a cancer support group. The pair later bump into each other, and Henry introduces himself to the Peterson Project, claiming it saved his life. He even lifts his shirt to present a huge scar across his stomach, calling the miracle treatment saved his life and sent him into remission. Guess what? He was in on the scam too, and it's safe to say he doesn't get away with his lies. In the post-credit scene, Henry is shown suspended in the air and attached to a contraption that has a series of nasty-looking blades and a circular motion towards his stomach. But the biggest surprise is that Kramer is joined by none other than Mark Hoffman's Jigsaw appearance from the Saw films. So let's go through and rank all of these. So we're gonna go number one. Okay. So we're gonna do the eye vacuum trap for number 3. Okay. We'll do one through 8. So we'll do number 1, bone marrow trap. Number 2, brain surgery trap. Number 3 is going to be the eye vacuum trap. This one I'm gonna put at 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 6. Okay, I'm gonna put this one up at number 8 because Gabriella shouldn't have to go through any of this, so I'm gonna put this at 8. This trap was just kinda just thrown in, I feel like. Um, Number 4, I'm gonna have the blood watering trap. This one was an awesome trap. Burning gas chamber trap. I'm gonna have this one at number 5. And then last but not least, number 7 is the scar tissue trap. So there's my ranking for them. Um, and a little explanation on these. Hopefully when the videos come out and stuff, I can start doing some cuts and stuff and making it look better, but I just kind of wanted to get my raw thoughts on the traps. They were all pretty cool traps, and this is what they're all called, so just a little more information for people. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate you, and have a nice evening. Mashallah.